If you've been in a room with more than one person at the same time, even once since August 27th, 1992, there's a pretty good chance you've played a round of Mario Kart in your life. For a lot of people, when you bring up split-screen multiplayer, Mario Kart is one of the obvious first choices, and it's easy to see why. I definitely grew up with the franchise, having played a ridiculous amount of Mario Kart DS back in the day, but my exposure to the series is actually more limited than you might expect. Despite having owned a Wii, I committed the cardinal sin of never owning the corresponding Mario Kart, a fact that I now overcompensate for by owning 2 copies, and as for the N64, well, we were a proud Diddy Kong Racing family in my household, and that's pretty much all you need to know. Occasionally though, I'll find myself wondering what life might have been like on the other side of the fence, and that's why we're here today. Let's take a look at Mario Kart 64. The concept of Mario Kart really needs no introduction, but just to be safe, I'll cover it anyway. Mario Kart 64 is the true realization of the concept set out in its Super Nintendo predecessor. In it, you're able to select between 8 different Mario characters and subsequently compete in usually 3-lap, free-for-all kart races across various different tracks and courses. The goal of these races are, of course, to place as high as possible, with an emphasis on completing your laps as fast as you can for a high score. While this is a series almost always associated with multiplayer, single-player offerings do in fact exist in the form of the Grand Prix mode. The goal of this game mode is to complete against AI in a gauntlet of tracks, earning points based on your performance in each race. If you want to complete everything, you'll need to race your way through all 4 cups and collect every golden trophy by coming in first. Being one of the overall earlier games, 64 only offers 8 playable characters to choose from. As is pretty standard, these racers are split up into different categories based on weight. How heavy each character is actually affects how they handle in games, so you'll want to remember this chart when you're choosing who to play as. Lightweight players have the highest top speed and the fastest acceleration, while also losing the least amount of speed while off-road. In exchange though, they're generally harder to control, spinning out more and requiring a wider radius for turns. Heavyweight drivers on the other hand are usually slower across the board, but have the advantage of being easier to control, especially for newer players, and they also have the advantage in battle mode. Generally amongst speedrunners, the lightweight Yoshi character is the first choice for races, so that's who you'll be seeing me play as for most of the game. Before you can even select your character though, you'll need to select your game mode. When you boot up the game, there are 3 categories of Grand Prix that you can choose from: 50cc, 100cc, and 150cc. For the longest time, I honestly assumed these were difficulty modes, but technically, they relate to the speed of your karts in the races. Once you've selected your character, you'll then have to choose between one of 4 cups, each of which will take you across 4 different tracks back to back to back. Pick your favorite, and finally, we can start racing. The first thing you'll notice is, of course, the full 3D environments afforded to the series for the first time by the N64. This game looks decent. Being released within the first few years of the N64's life, you wouldn't expect the developers to be able to fully utilize its power, but it's still noticeable that it looks just a little off. The biggest thing that makes it stand out to me is the fact that this game uses billboarded 2D sprites to represent the player instead of 3D models. While I'm sure this probably freed up resources to help the game run more smoothly, the sprites are noticeably low res and look kind of off even on a proper CRT display. Being a racing game though, Mario Kart 64 lives or dies on how it feels to control. Fortunately, if there's one thing this game is known for, it's tight controls. Since I'm playing the Wii release, I opted to play through the game with a GameCube controller, and that's just about the perfect input method for the high-speed precision racing of Mario Kart 64. A critical part of multiplayer racing games is a nice skill curve, where anyone can pick up and play competently, but highly skilled players can pull off insane maneuvers. Fortunately, Mario Kart 64 facilitates this with a couple key features. Drifting allows for you to more easily take on corners. You can also turn into your drift to perform something called a mini turbo, gaining a small burst of speed. If you know what you're doing, you can easily perform several of these a lap, saving tons of time. Additionally, the Mario Kart staple of item boxes are present and accounted for, which add an element of luck to each race and maybe help swing the tide in the favor of those slightly less skilled. The items feel very well balanced in this incarnation, if a bit basic. There aren't really any that I consider overpowered, but they all have the potential to be useful in some situations, so you should never really be disappointed. Interestingly, this title marked the first appearance of the infamous blue shell, although it's so rare in this game that I actually had to look up if it even appears or not while writing this script. For me, more than anything, interesting track design is one of the things that can really keep me coming back to a racing game over and over. So how well does Mario Kart 64 hold up in that department? Well, in my opinion, I feel the tracks could be classed as solid, if a bit bland. For the most part, every course has its own unique identity, even if those identities don't go all too deep. Of the 16 tracks, quite a few feel a bit generic, as you might have already noticed. A couple of my favorites would have to be Bowser's Castle for its unique atmosphere and sharp corners that are fun to drift around, and Rainbow Road for having loads of areas that allow you to build up speed and get ahead if you know what you're doing. Of course, if you're playing through the Grand Prix, good luck maintaining that lead because the AI cheats! Okay, so most people are probably already familiar with rubber banding, right? That's when AI characters in racing games speed up or slow down depending on how well the human players are performing. The idea is a race won't be any fun if you're able to keep a massive distance between you and second place, so by speeding up the AI closer to you, even higher skilled players can still be challenged. That doesn't make it any less annoying though when computer players are able to do things that human players just blatantly could never do. Like, take Rainbow Road for instance. At the beginning of the track, it's actually possible for you to leap over one of the rails and land on part of the track down below, much further along. This skips about half a lap and should put you in a position where it would be impossible to lose. If you only do this once though, over the course of the whole race, the AI is actually able to rubber band all the way back up to you and completely close the distance. More annoying though is when sometimes the computer just decides, oh, I think I'm going to win this race, and rubber bands way past you and so far ahead you're guaranteed to get second place. Fortunately, when it comes to the Grand Prix, the point system is pretty lenient, so usually you have plenty of opportunity to make up for a couple of low placements. You actually even get a chance to retry a race if you come in under 5th, which makes me wonder why there isn't an option to restart from the menu. Sometimes it's just obvious you don't have a chance, and it kind of hurts my ego to have to play out the race anyway. The biggest knock in my opinion against 64's single player is probably just the lack of content. There are no unlockable characters, no unlockable tracks, and only 4 cups in the Grand Prix. By coming in first in all 4 cups, you're able to unlock a new title screen and an option to play the 150cc Grand Prix in mirror mode. That's pretty much it. Of course, this is obviously a multiplayer focused game, but if you're playing by yourself, I wouldn't expect it to take long for you to plow through everything. Does that mean it's not worth playing though? Definitely not. If you're into arcade style racers, or just the Mario Kart series in general, this is definitely a solid entry that's worth your consideration. Unfortunately, since Nintendo supported their legacy software is currently abhorrent, the only place you can actively get your hands on an official version is via the Wii U eShop, but I'm sure you can figure out how to get it running. Either way, you'll probably have an enjoyable enough time. Just like I hope you had an enjoyable enough time watching this video. I'd really like to thank everyone for being patient with me while I try to figure out exactly how I want to keep making videos going forward. I'm really excited, but I still need a little bit more time. If you did enjoy watching, why not leave a like on the video, or even subscribe so you never miss any future uploads. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find all of that linked down in the description below, along with any of the music used in this video. Finally, why not comment and let me know what you thought? I love hearing from commenters and it boosts interaction. Well, I think that's about it. I'll see you all soon, and as always, thanks for watching.